With the success of Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure, and with a very strong relationship with Intamin, could we see Universal look to duplicate the success of this world-class attraction at Universal Studios Hollywood? A roller coaster that is longer, more insane, and one that interacts with the terrain to become the best roller coaster along the entire West Coast. I'm going to show you where in the park Universal Studios Hollywood could build this coaster and why I think there's a better chance of this being built than the Fast and Furious rumored Intamin coaster. And lastly, I'm going to share with you why this makes perfect sense for the park to go this direction. Welcome to Theme Park Predictions and more. My name is Brandon, and as far as coasters go, Universal Studios Hollywood only offers two, The Revenge of the Mummy and The Flight of the Hippogriff, which are both great coasters that appeal to most, but it's clear that USH desperately needs a roller coaster that is based around high-intensity thrills, especially since we know how park guests responded to Velocicoaster in Orlando. With that, I predict that once the highly impressive Super Nintendo World opens, the next major project for Universal Studios Hollywood is going to be a new mega roller coaster. And as far as when I think this could happen, I am circling 2025 with construction starting in early 2023. Trust me when I say this project that you're about to get a glimpse of is absolutely massive. Now, before I tell you a little bit about the style of coaster that could come to the park, I wanted to give you my thoughts regarding the Fast and Furious rumored drifting coaster. And while I think this idea sounds really cool, I often think, would it make sense for Universal to add a new roller coaster themed to the Fast and Furious when they already have this IP as one of the main key scenes on their famous tram tour? Not to mention, but the segment on the tram tour that is themed to the Fast and Furious is pretty impressive and still relatively new. So would it make sense to have two separate attractions at the park, both themed to the Fast and Furious? And do you think they could both coexist? Another thing that often crosses my mind is that currently it's the year 2022 and we still don't have a roller coaster or even a high-speed attraction themed to fast cars of the franchise at one of the Universal parks, and in my opinion, that is just a sin. Is there a reason why Universal has not explored this type of an attraction yet? Because for me, honestly, I find that situation just a little bit off. I do, however, think that the chance of a roller coaster themed to the Jurassic World franchise coming to the park still remains high. With the draw that Velocicoaster has been for Islands of Adventure, I speculate that Universal would want to keep that momentum going, or at least they have thought about it. Especially since we will continue to see movies being made decades from now revolving around Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. As for where Universal Studios Hollywood could build this new coaster, we have to look at one specific location that wouldn't require them to remove any additional sound stages in their lower lot. Which, if you've ever visited Universal Studios Hollywood before, you know that this park has to be very creative when they add a new attraction that expands the park and does not replace an existing one. Which brings us to this. The only open area for a new roller coaster of this size would be located in the area that you see here in yellow. This massive hillside offers a very challenging terrain for any project, but it's clear that if the park were to ever build something along here, it would have to be a roller coaster and would also be very special. This also happens to be the same area where the Fast and Furious coaster is rumored to go, but with my idea, the new coaster would not require the park to remove the animal actors and special effects show, which are located on the upper lot and seen here in purple. And more on the placement of this new coaster in a minute. Velocicoaster at Universal Orlando is 4,700 feet long and has a height of 155 feet. Riders will experience 4 inversions and speeds of 70 miles an hour. if Universal Studios Hollywood would follow the same DNA as Islands of Adventure, then I don't think they're going to keep the same name for this coaster. Or maybe if they did, have it be like VelociCoaster, then insert a secondary name. I had the privilege to work with my friends from Escape Designs to come up with a coaster that would fit perfectly in this location, that would hug and play off the terrain and interact with park guests going up and down the escalators, because this coaster's layout would feature track above and below the escalators. This new coaster would be scarier, meaner, and more intense from start to finish than VelociCoaster. Introducing Atrocity Coaster, a 5,855-foot long Intamin LSM multi-launch coaster that features 5 insane inversions, a top speed of 85 miles an hour, and before I share how tall this coaster really is, and even more, the impressive drop it would offer, I wanted to explain just how Universal could build this and create a mini Jurassic World section as a part of their lower lot. Jurassic World, the park's amazing water ride, is kind of in the way for guests to get to this new coaster since it's going to be located along the hillside. So in order for guests to get to the attraction, we would see an extension be built off of the second platform on the escalators down and the first platform if you're going up. That's going to include a windy path that's going to take you back to the entrance and the exit of this mega attraction. Along this path, you're going to find the on-ride photos as well as a gift shop. By doing this, it's going to offer the easiest and most convenient way for park guests to enter and exit this attraction. And it's actually going to expand the overall footprint of the park just by a little. But at least it's surrounded by one of the world's largest Intamin coasters ever built. Since every part of this impressive new coaster is located along the hillside, it would feature a very unique dynamic to it that most coaster stations do not offer. And that would be multiple levels to house more of the ride's queue, pre-show rooms, and other ride-related areas. As for the coaster itself, it would be modeled very closely with VelociCoaster and feature a first half that is top-notch, but not as intense as the ride's second half. But one thing that Escape Designs and I really wanted to push for with this project is taking the storyline for this coaster up another notch. By doing this, you will see the same level of theming that VelociCoaster offers, plus even more. Throughout the 5,855 feet of track, you're going to experience an Immelman, a zero-G roll, a cutback, one of the world's longest and best stalls, and a heartline roll, which adds up to 5 insane heart-pulsing inversions. But for me, the element that's going to stand out most on Atrocity Coaster would have to be the impressive top hat that's over 200 feet tall and a drop that is over 240 feet, making the coaster's longest drop play off the hillside in perfect fashion. Now, before I share with you why the size of this coaster would make perfect sense for Universal Studios Hollywood, I wanted to give you some insight on the scope of this project. And since this project is so massive and I want it to be perfect, so each and every one of you would be able to virtually ride this roller coaster, we are working on the best quality POV for a fictional coaster that you have ever seen before. Expect a full-blown POV featuring even more details on the ride to be released very soon. So be sure to become the newest Theme Park Prediction subscriber, and be sure to do the same for Escape Designs, because they already have some really cool content on their channel and they are working on some very impressive projects. So trust me, you're not going to want to miss those. So you might be wondering why Universal Studios Hollywood would want to build a roller coaster of this size, one that would make VelociCoaster even look small. And the reason is quite simple: marketability. We all know that the West Coast offers some great roller coasters and themed attractions, but if Atrocity Coaster was actually built, it would bring in a huge attendance boost to Universal Studios Hollywood, and when you factor in all the additional traffic at the turnstiles and throw in all the new merch revenue, this coaster would pay off huge for the park. Believe it or not, but Universal Studios Hollywood has a chance to do something that Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm has not done yet. And that is build a top 5 worthy roller coaster that would change the roller coaster game as we know it forever. And some can argue that Magic Mountain did this with X, but due to the dynamic of this attraction, not everyone likes it since it flips you upside down so much and it's so intense. So what do you think of our ideas for Atrocity Coaster? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And also, if you go see the new Jurassic World Dominion movie, please share your review of it with me as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.